1. Scarlet Witch. No more mutants. Just 3 words. And with those 3 words, thousands of mutants across an entire universe vanish at once, in an instant. And who says it? Someone we've watched and loved for years, someone we know as part of the Avengers, Scarlet Witch. That's exactly what this video is about. The characters Marvel introduced to us, made us love, and applauded as heroes have versions in the comics you've never seen, versions that are far darker and far more dangerous. Sometimes the person you think is your friend is actually a copy that's been in place for years. Sometimes the fairest character turns out to be at the center of the greatest evil. And finally, we're saving something special, a story where almost the entire MCU team turns dark at the same time. But I won't tell you that one yet, I'm saving it for the end. Let's go in order now. Every hero's evil version in Marvel feels like it's on an Omega level, but Scarlet Witch's evil version is genuinely next level. We first saw this character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Age of Ultron. She was a character who had gone through certain experiments alongside her brother, trying to control her powers. She could control the minds of the entire Avengers team individually, but her power hadn't yet reached a very high level. Honestly, one of the best things Marvel does is not pushing a character's power to its peak the first time we see them. We watch a character grow gradually stronger, film by film, facing gradually tougher opponents. In Tom Holland's Spider-Man films, they did exactly that. He got stronger step by step in each movie. With Captain Marvel, though, they did the opposite, because they portrayed her as overly powerful and invincible from the very beginning. We never quite warmed up to that character. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. Wanda Maximoff is one of the characters Marvel handled best in this regard. We saw, step by step, just how powerful and dangerous she could become. And I have to admit, her power level in the comics goes far beyond the cinematic universe. Because the comic book Wanda is a much darker character. In the comics, Wanda's children turn out to be part of a cosmic being, and as a result they suddenly cease to exist in her own universe. Unable to face this reality, Wanda, just like in the films, wants to rewrite a new reality. To do this, she creates an alternate world ruled by mutants. And right there, she utters those 3 words that went down in comic book history: no more mutants. With that sentence, thousands of mutants across the universe are erased at once. This dark version of Wanda is completely out of control, at an incredibly high level. The comics handle this so well that it actually sparks debate over whether she's truly evil or simply a good character trying to numb her own pain. So, considering both the comics and the films, do you think Wanda is a good person? Write it in the comments, because with the next character, this question gets a lot more complicated. 2. Captain America. Everyone's favorite good guy, Captain America, has an incredibly dark storyline in the comics. This story, published in 2017, is genuinely fascinating. Listen closely here, because Marvel's cinematic universe might actually show us this story someday. According to the story, there's a cosmic cube capable of altering all of reality. In this story, Steve Rogers is secretly a member of Hydra. In fact, this membership goes all the way back to his distant past, to his childhood. Don't turn on Steve Rogers just yet, because this isn't actually real. Thanks to the cosmic cube I mentioned, Hydra alters Steve Rogers' memory and history with this fabricated story. Believing this to be true, Steve Rogers takes control of America and brings Hydra into power. When this story was first discussed in the comics, it truly sparked incredible debate. Because Steve Rogers is a character who constantly seeks justice, who always looks for the right thing to do in any circumstance, seeing him this way wasn't well received by people. Don't worry, by the end of the story Steve Rogers returns to normal and the fabricated history is corrected. Marvel always writes a dark version story for every good character. We'll see the most well-known example of this later this year in the Tony Stark villain film, Doomsday. So, do you think seeing this evil variant of Steve Rogers on the big screen would break box office records? But you haven't seen the real shock yet, because up next is the most ruthless version of our childhood hero. 3. Iron Man. He was all of our childhood hero, and we've always known him as the good guy with his narcissistic personality. But there's a story about him that makes him almost unrecognizable in the comics. This story was published in 2015 under the title Superior Iron Man, and the Tony Stark in this story is on a completely different level. Tony Stark is already a character in the comics whose moral compass people constantly wonder about. Sometimes he leans melancholic, sometimes he sits right in the middle. We see this in the films too. We wonder whether he's narcissistic or selfish, but by the end of the story Tony Stark always comes out as the good guy. Still, we do witness the moments where he suppresses his dark side. This comic book story was a bit bolder and genuinely wrote a proper villain version of him. According to this story, Tony Stark starts selling people new technology, promising beauty and a perfect body. But he doesn't give it away for free, he sets up a subscription system for it. Whoever has money becomes perfect, whoever doesn't reverts back to how they were. In this story, our Tony Stark, unlike his usual scientific self, doesn't care about his friends at all. With his ruthless and mocking attitude, he genuinely behaves like a full-blown villain. Would you want to see this villain version of him in a fourth Iron Man film? Write it down, but things get even more complicated with the next character, because this time even the villain is calm and calculating. 4. Hulk. I need to give this one its own section, because there's a genuinely interesting point here. Hulk is one of the rare heroes who doesn't have a single solo film in the cinematic universe. Yet whoever gets a solo film ends up breaking records. Thor, Ragnarok is a good example, or the latest Spider-Man film, which broke a record worth millions of dollars. But we still haven't gotten a solo Hulk film. I'm pointing this out specifically because Hulk is a character who would never struggle to find a story. His villain version in the comics is on a completely different level. There's a character in the comics called Maestro, and this character is genuinely terrifying. In an alternate future, after a great catastrophe, radiation makes Hulk far stronger than normal. And this Hulk no longer acts out of rage, but with intelligence and ruthless strategy. In the MCU, we saw Hulk's smart side, but that smart side kept him from using his full power. In the comic book version, though, Hulk is both intelligent and enraged, and at the same time a villain. He builds his own empire in a world reduced to ruins and answers to no one. A lot of people want to see the angry, aggressive Hulk again. Do you think the MCU made a big mistake by making Hulk smart and calm? I personally think people preferred seeing his powerful side more. So which side are you on, the smart, docile Hulk, or the Hulk who can't act rationally but has nearly limitless power? And one more question, why do you think the Savage Hulk, in the films, always prefers to attack heroes instead of villains? Share your thoughts, because in the next story, our hero isn't even inside his own body anymore. 5. Spider-Man. Now let's talk about a comic book series written in 2013 that shocked everyone. In this story, called Superior Spider-Man, one of Peter Parker's greatest enemies, Dr. Octopus, transfers his consciousness into Peter's body right as he's about to die. So now, inside the Spider-Man suit, it's not Peter anymore, it's Otto. And of course, he's no longer a good character. Peter isn't the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man he usually is, he becomes a villain who uses ruthless methods. This character pushes the boundaries so far that he starts doing unbelievable things while saying, "I'll be a superior hero." Visually he looks just like the usual Spider-Man, but his whole mindset is completely different, colder, more calculating, more dangerous. By the end of the story, of course, Peter returns with the remnants of his consciousness. Do you think this would work if it were adapted into Tom Holland's 5th film? Write it down, but up next, we may have the most terrifying character on this list, an artificial intelligence that takes over the entire world while trying to do good. Now it's your turn. Out of all the characters we've covered since the start of the video, whose villain version solo film do you think would break box office records? Which one would you most want to watch? Write it in the comments. If you want a second part to this video, write continue in the comments and I'll gladly put it together. There are plenty more Marvel videos on my channel that might catch your interest, so I recommend checking them out. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. See you in the next video.